All right, we're back. Baku. Did it work? Was it funny? It was pretty bad, wasn't it? I'm sorry. It's the second longest circuit this year, Baku, second only to Spa-Francorchamps, which is amazing. It's 6 kilometers long, 51 laps. This is an interesting course, and here's the deal: it's so funny for a city course to be the place, Tim, where there's a ton of overtakes. But last year, there were 47 overtakes when Oscar didn't do them all. Oscar won last year. 47 overtakes on this track, Tim. And I think that's a good place to start because there is a lot of high speed, but there's a lot of tight corners that are wider than you would expect. And I know saying tight and wide there's a lot of ways you can say tight and wide, but it's certainly not when you're speaking about my body. But I would say that I'm Tim, it's an interesting course because a lot of these street courses like Jeddah, like Singapore, which is the next race, are very, very tight and very difficult to get around. This one, it opens itself up to slower corners, which leads to, I think, a lot of your overtakes.
Yeah, a lot of 90 Well, no, I just blew it.
Perhaps asking you that question right at that first corner or second corner is perhaps not the best move.
Yeah, a lot of 90-degree corners, Adam. So tight, maybe not as twisty. There are some twisty sections, obviously. I mean, when we get to castle section,
which is when I'm playing F1. I can't stand the castle section. I always been in the castle section.
Well, it's just because it's easy to rush the corner, right? It's
right.
I find that when we get there, we can break it down a little bit. But the castle section, yes, being very, very difficult. We've only done 5 laps on this track so far, so bear with us.
Okay, all right. And so, Tim, looking at the way
I'm driving.
No, we're not looking at that. I mean, let's go 3 corners. What when we pass a corner that you think is good for passing, I'd love to talk to you about it. Like, stop it, point it out, because we don't have to go for speed on this one. This is the castle section right here, and it is what a pain in the butt. But you've made it through pretty good. My issue with the castle section is always where I exit. Right, I can always hit it, but I hit it on the wrong angle, which puts me out on a bad exit. And there's an immediate corner right there. And if you don't exit that properly, then you can't gain any speed on where you are right now, which is sort of the wider, longer, faster section in the track.
And I think also with it, we can go back and break it down a little bit more.
Yep.
But I think with some of these turns, it's the braking that's actually super important because they're really big, heavy braking events. Like when we're coming down this straightaway, I mean, obviously it's one of the longest straightaways on the calendar. It's a huge braking event, right? Like we're going from 340 kilometers an hour down to, whatever our entry speed is going to be here.
And you got to slam it, right?
140, probably a little too fast. 130 kilometers an hour, and you really have to hammer the brake pedal. So the braking is kind of what sets you up for a lot of these turns. It can also really kill the lap.
Okay.
You really have to watch where the runoff is for everything. Like for here, for instance, we're going to brake pretty hard, but it's kind of at this point where you're you have to commit. You're either going to commit to the corner or you're going to go down the runoff.
Right.
Because you've carried so much speed, but you're also on that limit of the brakes where it's I'm going to brake really hard, really late here. And it's I have to commit to the corner.
Yeah.
Do I feel like I can do that? And once you've turned the wheel and committed, that runoff is now inaccessible. Forget it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because it is a city course. You look at the visuals you have here. You've got the runoff there, and everything in your natural being is telling you take the runoff. Because if you're actually physically in a car like this, it looks like you're going to smash your nose right off the Pirelli sign there. And it's a really blind corner, and I know that it's straight at the end, but the mental hurdle, and these guys are Formula One drivers, I know that they're different than us, but the mental hurdle you have to commit to a corner like that, it is so tight. I'm curious about driver mentality. What are you looking at on the racetrack in order to go, okay, now I'm going to corner, now I'm going to brake? What are you kind of pinning that on? Because it's got to be faith, right?
So we've only done a few laps, but so far the reference I've been starting to use, and it could be
because there's a 50 there.
Yeah, it could
and
be
there's 100 there.
It could be the wrong one. So you're essentially coming down so I know once I get past this black light box that I'm gonna need to start to do my braking. It's once I get to this tree limb that I actually started the braking. I think you can brake a little bit later. I've been kind of playing it a bit safe over these few laps, but it's the braking, the initial braking, it's the commitment of it, and then it's understanding, like, have I trimmed enough speed to start bleeding off the brake pedal and committing to the corner.
Right.
Because once you get to like here, this is kind of like the point of no return.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's such a tight exit on this.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it. Since you're coming to the apex, you're apexing, and we're obviously doing this very slowly.
Yep.
You have to get the car towards the wall. Like now we have to like drive the car out towards the wall because we have to use all the road that's available to us. So carrying the speed, have I carried too much? So if I've carried too much, I'm going to hit this wall.
You're in the AWS wall, yeah. And so my question is, so obviously the video game has the reference point on the left side there. Is your recommendation as a driver, if you're committing to this, to maybe not pay? Because there's a lot of times in this video game where the reference point is actually not the right racing line. So you would say commit and use the side.
Use what's available, because if you're basically, we can go back a bit. If you're basically going to carry a lot of speed in, which is what you want to do, right? Because you're basically carrying speed through all the corners. You're going to know that, okay, I don't want to get close to the wall, right? If you don't want to get close to the wall, then you can't carry too much speed in because you'll want to keep the car like here.
Yeah.
Right, and then come over where it's.
That always screws me up because that makes it so much slower.
You should be allowing the car to kind of do its thing. You don't want to. You don't want to bind the car up too much. You kind of want to let it flow, let it kind of do its thing, trust that it's going to be okay, and trust in your skills that you've carried the right amount of speed to just skim the wall or to kind of get close to it, and then start bringing the car over in a straight line, so keeping the wheel nice and straight, heading for my next braking reference. With this corner, I find it interesting because...
And this is, by the way, for anybody paying attention, this is the corner before Castle,
yes,
right?
This is one of them. This is one of the corners before Castle section. This curbing is very sort of inviting. Like, part of it makes you think, hey, can I kind of go over this?
Yeah.
Can I take the car over that and survive?
Because it's going to pop your wheels. That's a thick curve.
It's going to bring you up in the air. And so when you're getting the platform of these cars up off of the ground, you're losing a lot of downforce and you're losing a lot of grip and a lot of traction. And so by taking too much of this curb, you're going to cost yourself. It could spit you right into the wall, or it could, when the car lands, give you some oversteer. But it's inviting you to carry speed. Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
It wants you to really commit to it and be aggressive, but a part of it, you just can't. So you have to sacrifice it in a way and just do your best with trying to get as much speed out of the entry to it as possible. This next section is really interesting because, like, again, we've only done a few laps, but I think you can actually brake and downshift as you're kind of coming in.
Forgot about the chicane here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky because it really throws your rhythm off, right? Because you've gotten used to 90-degree corner, 90-degree corner, 90-degree corner, and then all of a sudden it's this really odd chicane, and it kind of just throws your rhythm off a bit. And so it's trying to like make sure that you can keep the rhythm going through it. So is it sort of braking, downshifting as you're kind of going through it? I think that's what it is. Again, like, I haven't done enough laps to really experiment with it and get away with it. However, once you get out of there, you have another one of these long straightaways, and it's always important to make sure that you're utilizing all the long straightaways. That's where you're gonna gain all your speed with this track, and getting close to the walls is the other.
So here's another one. This corner feels a lot like the one we just spent a lot of time on, right?
It is. It's kind of like one of those 90-degree corners.
Do you mind backing it off just a little bit here? I want to just pull in, and let's get granular here for a second, because the corners of Baku have always sort of fascinated me. When you look at the roads you have available here, Tim, and you look at the racing line that the video game has, and again, I know it's a video game, but let's have a look at that. it almost tells you to pull as close as you would have pulled to that other corner, right?
Yeah.
And on this one, I can see that you're actually going a little wider of that. What's the reason?
So when you're coming in here, again, like only on lap sort of 6 here, but the braking is important. That's going to set me up for where I want to place the car. I mean, again, having this apex sort of jut out the way it does, and there's no wall to kind of determine or deter you from using it. However, you don't want the wheels to get too much off of the ground with these types of race cars. So yeah, kind of just coming in
tight to the corner, but don't pop it.
Make sure you're not hitting it, right?
Okay.
And basically driving the car straight towards the wall. The biggest thing with here is the wheel spin you get when you're coming out of the corner, because you can carry quite a good amount of speed here, I've noticed. But it's the gearing. It's trying to figure out what's the best gear ratio to use, and also what is the best gear to be in when trying to get out of the corner. Is second gear possible? Is it smart to use second gear? I'm still kind of in that phase of like, I am getting a little bit of wheel spin. Do I short shift to third to kind of kill it? Because once you get that, once the torque kind of goes through the tires, the car's going to snap because there's just so much of it, right? Like these are monsters of race cars. So you kind of want to, you don't want to make sure you get a snap. So is it a quick upshift? Is it third gear? And I just try to carry a little bit more speed. And so I'm kind of in that sort of range at the moment, trying to figuring out the gears. However, again, same sort of thing applies here. You want to use all the road. You want to get close to the walls.
And how you exit here is so important, because Castle's the actual next corner.
Yeah, exactly. And as you're approaching, I think the braking reference is around here somewhere. I'm kind of using that
the black box
as a bit of a braking.
And there's the
sort of
50
reference.
50 sign, right? But you want to be braking already.
Yes, and you're kind of bleeding off the brakes at this point. You're turning in a little bit earlier, like earlier than I think you would, than I think is necessary at first. But then once you start getting through it, you're like, oh, this actually works. I can carry a little bit more speed. They've done some remodeling to this corner as well. It's not as, there's this bump. There used to be this bump on the apex curbing that the drivers would sometimes hit and spit them right into the wall. I mean, Charles Leclerc, perfect example. I am stupid. A
classic call.
That classic line. That's kind of been removed, and so the corners opened up a little bit. But again, it's still like whatever 7.3, 7.6 meters in length across. It's the tightest corner on the F1 calendar. You're still threading the needle, right? You're still
tighter than anything at Monaco, which is hard to believe, but that is. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it's such a challenge.
Yeah, and Adam, you're approaching it at like 200 and whatever plus kilometers an hour, and you're trying to get through it as fast as you can and not smash the car into a million pieces.
Right. And then, funnily enough, so if your entrance here, which has so much to do with your exit from the previous corner, if your entrance here is off, there's an immediate corner right at the top of this little hill. And so when you're taking this, what are you looking at here? Like, as a driver, what's going through your mind?
Yeah, so I think we've already kind of turned in, so we're coming around. If you go back and you watch, I went back and I watched Charles Leclerc's onboard camera from his pole-winning lap from here last year, and it was interesting because once he kind of turns in pretty early, and you're kind of like, ooh, is the car, like, is he going to make it? So he's already committed, right? So the steering wheel's got a bit of lock in it, and he's going to get close to the wall here. And you don't want to move the wheel at this point. You're kind of just like...
Let it go.
You just got to trust that you've done the right thing, and you're not going to take the front left corner of the car right off. You're going to be good. But it's happening so fast that he does one thing that actually is quite interesting. As soon as he apexes, instead of leaving like a bit of steering lock in the car, he immediately like straightens the wheel and like gives it a kick of throttle to get up the hill. And by doing that, it, again, the amount of torque that comes through the car, that helps by keeping the wheel straight, because if the wheels are turned even just, slightly like this, you're going to get a snap. So making sure that's straight, and just missing this wall, like he is like this, and he's floored it when he's going up this hill. If he makes a mistake on that turn in way back, and he tries to do that,
you're over.
You know, you're now
You're a meter off, and that's all you need to be.
That's it, and you're taking the whole
Yeah.
right side of the car off.
Of course.
So like that's how
Precise
these guys are.
This comes back to and let's move it forward here, and you can kind of show us a little bit about like because exiting this corner matters, and then I want to get to car setups because look at so you hook to the left a little bit here, which makes it just even playing the video game, you're like that hook left is a surprisingly uncomfortable place to go.
Yeah, and then also because Adam, if you're too far to the right, you're apexing really early.
Yes.
Now I'll walk you through why that's a problem. So if you're going to apex really early, so essentially you're going to be around here, your exit is now going to be
there,
like here.
And you're ping-ponging.
Yeah, and so then you're going to have to do this.
And then hook back
and
out.
And then do this.
Yeah. You're basically adding an extra corner to your
Yeah,
your
exactly.
drive.
And you've lost so much time by doing that. 1, 2, you screwed up your entrance to this corner, which is going to compound itself as you're going down this really long straightaway that we're about to come to. So a lot of the times, well, all the time, what you'll want to do is make sure that you're basically turning in later. And then by later, I mean like very late. Because you want to make sure you're sacrificing the exit of this turn. It's so important to do that because of the size of the straightaway that's coming up. So
yeah.
I'm going to come up the hill and then second gear, I think it's around third maybe, turning in really late. I'm apexing here, so I can just do this. And now set myself up really nicely, and apex.
Clean, and then
back on the throttle. And we are flying down a massive straightaway. And even though it may not seem like much, like the speed is massive. It makes such a difference, right? You're basically going from like, if you turned in really early back at turn 11, and you've exited really wide, you brought the car over, you've turned in for turn 12, then you're getting back on the power, and maybe you're doing 250 kilometers an hour by here. If you do it the other way, where you're turning in a lot later, you're apexing later, you're sacrificing the exit, you're setting yourself up well, it's 260 kilometers an hour.
Right.
So you're gaining 10 kilometers an hour more because of the size of the straightaway and how you've come out and set yourself up. So you have to make a sacrifice somewhere to make a gain somewhere else. And that's what's sort of interesting about that whole
sequence,
castle section sequence.
Yep.
This part here is like very inviting for the driver. It kind of throws you off because it looks like you can really attack the braking zone here, and it looks like you can carry a ton of speed. But there's two things that happen. You're going downhill is number one. And number two, all of a sudden the apex kind of jets out in front of you, and you have to make a decision of like, have I carried like too much speed into here? And am I going to hit the Louis Vuitton wall at the other side? And so again, it's another one of those corners you have to make a decision. Do I use the runoff that's on my right? Or do I believe in myself that I've done the right things and I'm just on the limit and I'm just going to scrape this wall? So we'll see a lot of drivers actually hitting this wall.
Yeah. Or
kissing
history, it with both tires.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. And a big part of that is, did they carry too much speed in? Did they leave the braking too late? Did they commit too much? And that's sort of this type of a corner because it is sort of, it doesn't deter your confidence, right?
Yeah.
It actually gives you a little confidence.
So how do you, if you're a Formula One and thing, we're gonna wrap this segment up here in just a second here. But if you're a Formula One team and you are going into this weekend, these corners are very, very slow in comparison to the rest of the track, which is very, very fast. How do you balance setup? Do you just commit to the double down on the straightaways, or are you, to quote the F1 movie, are you committing the car to combat in the corners? Like where do you lean on that?
It all depends on the characteristics of the car. I can see the McLarens being really fast in tight, twisty sections where I mean, Red Bull has been really good with trimming their car out and carrying a lot of speed down the straightaways. I could see Red Bull doing something similar to what they've done in races past, where they're like, we're going to take all the wing off of it, we're just going to leave it in Max's hands, and we're going to let him do his thing, and we'll be fine type deal. And then Ferrari, I think they're also really interesting. They struggle with some of the slower corners, but I think they can be competitive here because they were competitive here last year as well, Adam.
Yeah, they were. Charles Leclerc actually has the fastest lap at this track all the way back in 2019, and basically an even 143. He also was on pole last year, wasn't able to win. Oscar Piastri passed him on lap 20. But, that is a very interesting group of 3 teams that could win this race. And this seems to be Charles' track. He just seems to love it. And Sergio Perez, who will be back next year, also loves this track. Max Verstappen was the guy who set the race-winning record in terms of differentiation between him and second place, over 20 seconds in 2022, which is amazing. So in for a great race. I really do love this track. I know some people are hot and cold on it. This is one of my favorites to both in the race, the real race, but also in video games too. So we'll go back to the main show now. But Tim, thanks for walking us through.
Yeah, no problem. This is a lot of fun.